Gentlemen, John Rubenstein.
Good morning. It's nice to see you haven't been assimilated. All kidding aside, I want to welcome you. We're glad you could make it this morning. I know it's early for the developers, especially for us engineers, but we really appreciate your interest in hardware. It is a wonderful computer. But really, all kidding aside, really, there we go. Okay. That movie, by the way, was done on a Mac, by Mac developers, for Mac developers. Any case, yesterday I outlined our objectives, my strategy, and some of the key initiatives. Over the next 2 days, we're going to fill in the details. This morning, we have an overview for you of Apple's hardware direction. I think we have a good show for you. Now, I have to admit that Avi's presentation yesterday is a tough act to follow. But we've got some great demos, and we've done our sacrifices this morning to the demo gods. I'd also like to point out that except for explicit technology demos this morning, everything you're going to see is products that are fully staffed and will ship before the next WWDC. Many of them are not announced, so let's try to just sort of keep it in between us. Okay? We have hot products today, and I said this yesterday. I'll say it again today. I'm really excited, and I'm going to be turning up the heat. So at this point in time, I'd like to introduce Phil Schiller, who's our VP of Desktop and Server Marketing. He's going to be your guide through this morning's session. Phil?
Morning, John.
Morning.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. It's great to see all of you here so early this morning. I guess last night was not the big party night. You'll excuse me, I have a lot of enthusiasm. I get pretty excitable about this stuff. I really, really love what I do. So while some of you may be wishing you had another big, tall cup of joe, I'll be up here with enough energy, hopefully for all of us, and get the day started out right. John talked yesterday about our new focus, renewed focus in the hardware business at Apple, our attention to the Mac customer, and I think that is now going to be stronger than it has been in years. We are really, as a group and an organization, asking the single most important question. What do Mac customers want us to make? Not enough just to compete. That's right, thank you. Anybody out there a Mac customer? It's not such a simple question. What makes a great Mac? We can have many late-night beers just discussing this thing and trying to mull that one over. But that is the question that's being asked. What makes the Mac truly great? What do customers want of us? They certainly want us to deliver great Macs. They want us to deliver Macs that surprise them, Macs that unleash their creativity, Macs that fit into their workflow or their educational curriculums. And they want Macs that truly help them to excel, to succeed and grow as either individuals or organizations. So we're working very hard to deliver the kind of products that those customers expect and maybe even now and then exceed their expectations. We're also trying to make the product line simpler. Over the years, we haven't always done that, and that's certainly something well within our power to do. I don't know if any of you ever heard this. I certainly have in the last couple of years of customers who say, I really do want to buy a Mac, but I'm not quite sure which one. I'm quite confused. Performa, Centris, Citrus, whatever, right? And over the next year, we're going to make it a lot simpler. We have a few product lines we'll talk about today that are quite easy to understand and make sense, and in being so, they're actually doing quite well. And I believe over the next couple of years, there are tens of millions of customers who want Apple to succeed and want to buy Macintosh products, but they want us to do the job of making them great and making them understandable. And certainly, with the advent of the capabilities that the Chirp architecture brings to us to leverage commodity components, something we are doing in our product line, we'll compete with the Wintel world in speeds and feeds. We'll match them megabyte for megabyte, gigabyte for gigabyte, and even beat them now and then. But in the end, that's not enough. We have to make Macs that are differentiated from PCs. They need to deliver value-added features because frankly, there's a large percentage of the PC customer base out there and the Mac customer base, the entire personal computer industry, who want something different. They want something better. It's not all of the base. There's people who are happy and satisfied sticking with something that is the same as what everyone else has, but frankly, there's a lot of customers who want more. And we need to be able to differentiate the Mac in a number of important ways. I hope to show you some of those ways today. And we have started to do this. These products were talked about yesterday. We have some products that are actually doing really quite well and that Mac customers are proud to own. For example, the PowerBook 3400 has really brought back quality and performance to the PowerBook line like we haven't done in years. And the customers I talked to who own the 3400 couldn't be happier. And recently brought out the new PowerMac 6500, which brought back performance and multimedia integration to the mainstream consumer and education markets. And customers that have started to use those products are really excited. And once again, they actually bring back by their PC counterparts and bring them to their offices or their desks and say, this is why I stick with Apple. This is why the products are worth investing our money in. They're good products. And they exceed what the PC is capable of bringing to the marketplace. But how do we do this consistently across all of our product lines? How do we start delivering hot products up and down the line that everyone, no matter what they're purchasing from Apple, can feel great that it's the right computer and it delivers the value and performance and capabilities people want? What we've done just recently is look across all the activities happening in the hardware world at Apple. And there's a lot of great stuff going on. There are great engineers still at Apple. If any of you doubt that, there are. And you'll meet a lot of them, obviously, throughout the show and in the sessions ahead. And each one of them are working on great things. But when you pull them together, all of a sudden the picture gets a lot more exciting. So that's what we've done, is we've started to create initiatives that pull together a lot of the wonderful work that's already going on across our products. And for fun, with little playful names, we've given identities to these things because, frankly, it gives them mass and velocity. They start to feel part of a bigger movement inside Apple to deliver the kinds of things Mac customers want us to deliver. So the first initiative is to look across all the things happening in the hardware division to deliver greater performance in the next year. You're going to see products that truly start to exceed what people expect from Moore's Law in terms of exponential performance over time. First area is the processor family itself. I'll talk a little bit more about this later on in a roadmap, but the processors coming out in the PowerPC roadmap in the next year will continue to beat Pentium performance. And it will do so in products that are smaller, cooler, lower power, lower priced. So it will allow us to push performance up and down the line with more powerful products at the high end and bringing that performance further and further down into entry-level products and into mobile systems. So these are called third generation or G3 processors. Again, I'll talk about them in a few moments, but we're going to match those to systems that are better architected to take advantage of these capabilities. We're going to deliver for the first time on a Macintosh not one but two new cache architectures during this year to optimize this performance. What you'll see in the next year are both inline caches, which allow us to match large caches to individual processors and create more robust and more higher performing multiprocessor systems, as well as on some of our system backside caches, which allow us to stick a cache on the back end of a processor and run it at very high frequencies up to as fast as the processor itself. So those two cache designs, along with these new processors, together in combination, allow us to have a greater variety of system designs and reach different performance levels, things that were not possible before. As I mentioned, multiprocessing is key to this. We will deliver more multiprocessing products over the next year, particularly in the high end in servers. And these multiprocessor products are designed to work with today's Mac OS multiprocessing spec, as well as in the future with the SMP capabilities Rhapsody will provide. And for anybody out there who's ever used a NEC system and seen the scalability of the operating environment and actually used it on originally some SMP and MP prototypes, it's truly wonderful, scalable performance and something that Mac users are going to be amazed by the experience when they use that kind of a system. Now, of course, you need to keep feeding these processors, and the best way to do that is with faster memory. So what you'll see in the next year ahead is not only increasing the megahertz or bandwidth of the bus in a number of our designs over the next year, but also optimizing those memory subsystems using the best of EDO and SDRAM and using new interleaving techniques to take advantage of the bandwidth we do have. And lastly, connecting to the outside world through PCI for I/O. A lot of you create PCI devices or count on them for your solutions. And we are going to both in the next year first push existing PCI bandwidth. Existing PCI runs at 33 megahertz, 32-bit wide, and we will effectively double the performance of those PCI systems. And then in the future, moving on beyond a year out, we'll actually start to push the bandwidth and the megahertz speeds beyond 33, 32 in PCI. So there's a good future ahead for pushing PCI performance. So altogether, we're building the capabilities to design systems that have dramatically faster processors, better cache architectures, and more flexibility in different cache models, faster memory subsystems, better optimized memory subsystems, and better use of the PCI performance. In total, to give a better system throughput, better maximum balanced design, which is something that Macintosh has always been known for. So with that, I'd like to invite Steve Bannerman, a product manager in the Power Mac group for high-end Power Macs, to come on up and show you a little glimpse of what these high-speed Macs are going to look like. Steve?
Thanks, Phil. Thanks. So we're going to break with tradition a little bit. Typically, as Phil mentioned, we like to do demos that show off the balanced performance of our system. But this time, given that we have this transition to G3 processors so close, we'd kind of like to focus on processor-intensive demos. So I'm going to put the rubber to the road first thing and run an application that we're all familiar with. So I have a machine here that has a G3 processor in it. And we're going to run MacBench. We're just going to run the processor score. So for those of you that aren't familiar with MacBench, it basically takes the performance of the Power Mac 6160 as its baseline. That gives you a performance score of 100. To put this in context, I ran MacBench on my 8500 180 on my desk, and I got a processor score of 252. What do you think a good processor performance score would be for a G3 processor? 500? 600? Yes? 700? Higher? How about 1105? Is this cool? This is the first time we've ever broken 1,000 on a MacBench score. So as you can imagine, we're pretty excited about this. Now, this is not a demo machine that we just cobbled together to prove that we could do this. This is actually alpha quality hardware that we'll be shipping in the mid-range part of our line by the end of this year.
So here's a mid-range system before the end of this year that delivers performance 4 times faster than last year's 8500 and over 10 times faster than the first Power Mac. So that's what I meant by breaking Moore's Law with some very compelling hardware. And if any of you read the DataQuest report, there are a lot of Mac users out there this year looking at upgrading, and we think we have some exciting products to show them.
Okay, so let's put this thing head-to-head with the best and the baddest and the fastest we could get from the Intel world. So if we could put this machine up on the other screen. This is a 266 megahertz Pentium 2 machine. We can prove that it's a Pentium 2 machine because I have a piece of software that Dan Collins wrote that allows us to... Ooh, it looks like... There we go. It allows us to see if the Pentium 2 bug was found, and there it is.
Okay, I promise that's the only gratuitous cheap shot at Pentium, and we won't do another.
Okay, so...
Come on, I know, some of you can do them on your own. If you want to come up later and give us cheap shots about Pentium, we'll work them into next year's talk.
Okay, Phil, if you could give me a hand with this demo. So,
only as long as I get to drive the Mac.
Okay, you get to drive the Mac. Okay, so what we're going to do, Photoshop 4 gives us the ability to actually script together some different filters and have them run sequentially. So what we've done is scripted together several popular filters that people working in Photoshop use a lot. Things like unsharp masks, color balances, Gaussian blurs, and radial blurs. So Phil, on the count of 3, click the play button. 1, 2, 3. So you'll see that this is going to actually just move through one at a time. We're using about a 5 megabyte file here. We did this, we kept the file size relatively small so that the thing would finish in a reasonable amount of time. But the performance scales really well up to really large files.
Rounding the corner, Power Mac's out in front.
Down the stretch they come. So the Power Mac's done. over 70% faster than a 266 megahertz Pentium 2 machine, which is the fastest thing we could get from Intel today.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks very much.
Now, this is significant for a number of reasons, besides the fact that it's just nice to win once in a while. But besides that, this is a mid-range product next year. We do have faster products that we'll show you a little bit of later. But to be 1.7 times faster, and granted, they may have faster systems out in that time, but 266 Pentium 2 is the fastest thing they're talking about in mainstream volume right now. And so certainly it's doubtful that they'll be 1.7 times faster before the year is done. So I think we have significant advantage in performance in our mainstream product line thanks to these new designs and new processors coming down the road, and something that we can all be proud about. And most importantly, that is Photoshop. Photoshop is a great application we all know and love, and it has also been tuned for MMX performance. So that is the MMX optimized version of Photoshop up against the standard Power Mac native Photoshop on the Power Mac. And that means that this performance is the kind of performance that all native Mac applications get. So everything you write benefits from this performance without special calls, special coding, special versions. It's true to everything the user experiences. And I think that's great for Mac users. Okay, yes. Let's hear it for Mac users. Okay, now, the second initiative, multimedia. The Mac is nothing if not the first best multimedia computer in the personal computer industry. And we have millions of Mac customers, your customers and our customers, who create multimedia content. All the best multimedia content for CD-ROMs, for presentations for the World Wide Web are created on Macintosh. And in the last year, we've done some great things. And next year proves to be, I think, the most exciting multimedia year we've had yet on the Mac. Last year, we brought acceleration to QuickDraw 3D, first with RAVE on a card, and then hardware acceleration built right into the logic board of mainstream products. The new 6500 line includes 3D hardware acceleration for QuickDraw 3D right on the product, which delivers over 10x native performance of QuickDraw 3D. Yet there's nothing that had to be done in software to take specific advantage of that. Once you support QuickDraw 3D, it's automatically accelerated on those products. Now in the next year ahead, what we're going to do is bring that kind of acceleration to QuickTime. So QuickTime codecs can be automatically accelerated. So customers with that added hardware can receive tremendous performance benefits when they use QuickTime in the applications you create. Whether they're looking at QuickTime movies, creating QuickTime content, merging QuickTime together into new multimedia experiences, they will all get automatic performance benefits. We'll do that with a part that you've heard us talk about, a part from Philips called the Trimedia chip that will become a multimedia coprocessor in high-performance Mac designs. And then to feed this fast 3D and multimedia coprocessing and performance, we need faster throughput for the systems for working with audio and video. A lot of you are very familiar with FireWire. It's a high-speed interconnect standard that's been adopted by IEEE as P1394. We think it's easier to just say FireWire. But FireWire will be adopted into select Mac configurations for customers who create multimedia content. We've already started down this path, and we've made available up on our website as of NAB, as the NAB show, a API, the FireWire 1.0 API for people to download and get started. We've also worked with a number of developers on add-in cards to get FireWire connectivity built into PCI Macs. Going forward, Apple is going to deliver FireWire connectivity into a number of its products over the next year and make this a high-speed interconnect standard on Macintosh and lead in high audio-video I/O throughput. Another area that I know a number of you are very, very interested in is DVD. DVD is coming, and we are certainly strong supporters and believers in DVD. DVD-ROMs will start to see some select configurations at the end of this year. We wish it could be sooner, but frankly the technology and the costs don't allow you to drive it throughout the product line yet. By the end of '98, we're predicting, at least internally, that CD-ROM will be completely replaced by DVD-ROM because the costs will then come down, the volume's up, and it can actually replace every configuration, and it's backwards compatible. In addition, there's another DVD standard, DVD-RAM, which allows rewritable media for DVD, and we'll be supporting that in higher-end AV configurations for customers who want to have the ability to read and write to these large, faster DVD storage mediums. So we'll configure DVD RAM systems for customers. And we're bringing digital audio onto the Mac architecture in a very high quality manner that delivers greater than 85 dB. So as you talk in the desktop segment, they'll talk more about that, but the quality of digital audio is going to dramatically improve in Macintoshes over the next year. And in the PowerBooks, we're pushing graphics performance and video performance. As you've seen, we've started to introduce products that leverage PCI graphics, so there's tremendous advances coming there. And we're supporting zoomed video for faster video I/O, particularly in the brand new 2400 product. What I'd like to do is ask Steve to come back up again and give us a glimpse at some of this multimedia technology and where it's going to take us. Steve?
Great. Okay, so I'd like to give you a peek where we're going on the high end in the kind of authoring space. As we saw from the performance demo against MMX, MMX is a reasonable, I guess, playback strategy, but for authoring, it really doesn't work very well at all. So we decided to implement a co-processor strategy using the Trimedia TM1s. So what I have is another prototype machine. Again, this is not something that we cobbled together just for the demo. This is, again, alpha quality hardware. It has a next generation processor in it, and it also has a card that has a Trimedia TM1 and a few interesting video interfaces. So the first thing that I'd like to do is give you a demo to kind of illustrate a couple of the reasons why we chose Trimedia. First of all, it's a very powerful processor, and second of all, it's also very flexible. So it can do multiple things. So the first thing that I'm going to do is use a little application that was written by our friends at Mojosoft to play a DVD video stream. Now, this video stream actually had the AC3 audio stripped out, so there's no audio. But you can see that it's very high quality. We can do things like grow the window, full screen, still very high frame rates, very high quality. You can even do things like bizarre resolutions, things like that, and the video still plays at full frame with very high quality. But we'd like to be able to do multiple things with the same part. So what I'd like to do now is focus on video input. So we'll start with the kinds of things that we're shipping today in the 85 and 8600, namely composite video. So this is, I have a camera here connected via the S-Video port, and we have S-Video, playback on the screen. But what we'd like to do is purpose the Trimedia to take advantage of this digital video train that's coming down the tracks really quickly. So the same camera, this is also a digital camcorder with a FireWire port, is connected to a FireWire interface on the camera. Now this codec is not optimized yet, so it looks a little bit pixelated, but we can just switch back and forth from within any QuickTime-aware application between analog and digital formats. In fact, we can also switch to another very high-quality professional digital format called Serial Digital D1. I have a DVC Pro deck connected to my Power Mac via a D1 interface, and now I get extremely high-quality D1 digital video directly into the Mac and can switch back and forth automatically with just a single click. So now let's try and live on the edge a little bit and tax the performance.
So as you're doing that, I want to point out that's the first time, I believe, anyone has ever shown full-motion D1 video on a Macintosh, let alone any other personal computer. And so that brings a level of quality to a standard Mac configuration that will come from Apple that has simply not been possible before.
Okay, so let's do a couple different things at the same time here. Now, again, the TM1 is not running at the full speed it will when it ships, and neither is the CPU in this machine. But I've got the capture window back up, and I've also got the MPEG 2 movie playing, and it pretty much plays at full frame. And let's take this one step further. I'd like to launch a little application that was written by John Neal from Neal & Associates that allows you to actually play any QuickTime movie as your desktop pattern. So what I'm going to show now is the ability to actually run multiple codecs on the same machine simultaneously. So this is a Cinepack movie running in the background. I've got my video capture screen up, and I've got my MPEG movie still plays. Now, again, everything's not optimized. We haven't really implemented DMA or anything like that, so it doesn't play at full frame. But it actually plays. I mean, this is the first time we've ever been able to have multiple codecs loaded on the same machine at the same time. The only thing that's special about this machine, besides the integrated hardware, is a disk array that was furnished by our good friends John Brisbane and the rest of the folks at Stream Logic. So this is the kind of thing that you can see integrated into a Power Mac for the high-end authoring space in the future.
Hey, thanks, Steve. I said that next year is going to be an extremely exciting year for our multimedia customers, and certainly that shows at the high end we're going to reach into spaces we've never been before and create new opportunities for all of you to work with a QuickTime base of hardware that simply wasn't even envisioned when QuickTime was invented in terms of the kind of capability we're going to provide. And we're not only just doing this at the high end, we're going to bring out selected pieces of these technologies as they make sense into more multimedia configurations further down the line so people can do things that the previous AV products were not capable of doing. Now, communications. Certainly Macintoshes need to work in work groups at as high a speed as can be provided, and we need to work in a greater internet and external world at large, and no initiative is based more on the standards than this because it's all about interoperability. And something that is near and dear to a lot of your hearts, you desperately need us to bring to market a 10100 Ethernet capability, and we will be doing that over the next year, bringing out 10100 features into select Mac configurations over time onto the desktops and servers. And we're also going to push Ethernet through more configurations in the PowerBook line as well. A USB, for those who recognize it, that's Universal Serial Bus, is a standard from the PC world where you'll see a lot of third-party connectivity products, and some of you may be making those yourselves, and we will support those over the next year and bring that across our product lines, through the mainstream product lines. And as the PC world will adopt FireWire from Apple, that will also adopt some of the standards as they make sense, like USB, from the PC world. In addition, PowerBooks will continue to push their connectivity and communications by expanding PCMCIA performance with card bus and embracing faster standards in the infrared space, and even making GeoPort accessible via the serial port for those expansion options. But probably the most important thing about the PowerBook is not just the communications it delivers, but how easily it makes the ability to communicate with the outside world and work in multiple locations. So I'd like to bring up Sandy Green, product manager for PowerBooks, who recently introduced the PowerBook 3400, so we know she does things right, and to talk to us about the Apple Location Manager. Sandy?
Thanks, Phil. Apple Location Manager is a product that we brought out actually at January Macworld. And what we wanted to do today was just give you a quick review of it, and then also talk to you a little bit about what's going to happen with the future of Apple Location Manager. So I've got a system up here, and we'll just bring it up, do a quick demo. We'll open it from the control strip, which is very convenient. And as you can see, I have multiple locations already stored. Let's take a look at our home San Francisco location. And the great thing about Location Manager is it allows you to kind of take a snapshot of how your system looks for a particular location. So as you can see, we've got different items here: auto open, default printer, extension managers. Generally, those things vary as you vary your locations. And this is an easy way to capture that data, and then with one touch of a button, be able to go and change that later on. So we can see we've got that one there. And if we want to go ahead and just change over to Dallas, happens very quickly. So it's very convenient when you walk back into your office or your next location, just want to go ahead and change that. And we'll hit OK, and we're done there. So Apple Location Manager is actually, as I said, going to go through some changes in the future. And by early '98, we'll have a new graphical user interface, as well as more modules available not only from Apple Computer, but from folks like yourself, developers. And we're doing a lot in terms of trying to get you the stuff that you need to go ahead and do the development on those modules. Another thing that we're looking at is making Apple Location Manager available for desktop systems. So, if you guys like that idea? Good. So again, it's something that we're working on and doing a little cross-functional work between the PowerBook group and the desktop guys, as well as the other software groups. So Location Manager, again, something that we want to really provide to the customers to help them with the communications issues that they have. And as I mentioned before, right now it's currently shipping on PowerBook 1400s and 3400s. It's also going to be shipping on the new PowerBook 2400, which you guys have probably heard about. And I just wanted to let you guys know that the PowerBook group is getting a reputation for being a bit deceptive. And maybe last year you remember that Charlie Tritchler was up here and he did a performance demo where he kind of had a PowerBook hidden inside of a desktop system. Well, I kind of did the same thing, because the PowerBook 2400 is the smallest, lightest, fastest PowerBook that we have. And so I'm going to kill my video and stuff here. We'll just pull it out and let you see. And a nice bright red bow as well for its initiation into the world. And there you go, the PowerBook 2400. So you guys will be seeing this coming out in the United States in July. And it's starting to ship in Japan at the end of this month. So there you go.
Thanks, Cindy. A PowerBook inside a PowerBook. I don't know where we go next. Nanotechnology, I guess. We did want to announce that if you all look under your seats, there's a PowerBook 2400 taped to the bottom for each of you. And hasn't been that good a year yet. So that's communications. And the fourth initiative, certainly not the least, is design. Macintosh is certainly known for its distinctive character. And one of the things, besides the nice happy face smiley icon that starts up and all the great software it runs, is also the design of the product itself. It certainly elicits an emotional response when we do it right. And there have been a number of products through the years that have had just beautiful design, and that's not by accident. We look at design at Apple from the inside out. We have logic board architectures, which we'll talk about in the roadmaps. We look at it from the function of the product in terms of its accessibility, as you've seen with products like the 9600 and even the new PowerBooks. We're making it far easier for people to get inside and work to reconfigure those products. It's going so far with the 9600 even having a green button right on the top makes it easy to get inside. Now, contrast that to days of old when you needed a hex nut to break inside your computer as if you were breaking the law. And so now we've made these things more accessible than ever. But probably the most exciting part about design at Apple is the form, the ways in which we make them beautiful and friendly and worth showing off to people. And I think one of the best talented areas inside Apple that we love to talk about and show off is our industrial design group and the wonderful work they do. So to do that, I'd like to bring up Jonathan Ive, who directs the Industrial Design Lab, to talk to you about design at Apple desktops. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thanks, Phil. As Phil mentioned, my name's Jonathan Ive, and I'm the Director of Design at Apple. It's super to be with you guys this morning. Just want to take a couple of minutes to talk very generally about design, about our approach to design, to hopefully sort of increase your understanding about the work that we're doing at the moment, but I think probably more importantly, to give you a sense of where we're heading in the future. So industrial design makes a broad contribution to user value that ranges from the sort of easily understood, easily defined issues of use, utility, and function, through to the more emotive, less tangible issues of product appeal. I think a truly great design, a truly great solution, is a holistic solution that really addresses both issues of function and utility and issues of appeal. Now, to be really honest, to be perfectly frank, in the last couple of years, there has been a disparity between the work that we've been doing in the design group and some of the examples, some of the products that we've actually shipped. The really good news is that's been acknowledged. It's been acknowledged as a bad thing. The even better news is I've got a couple of examples that I can show you this morning. Some, you're going to be familiar with the examples, but I think that they make a very clear, a totally unambiguous statement about Apple's commitment to design. So the first of those is the eMate. So I think some of you guys are going to be familiar with this product. I think this is a super example of a well-rounded, holistic solution that combines great utility with just appeal. So this was designed for children. It's a rugged design. There's a handle on the top with a rubber piece underneath. So it's easy to carry. It's sort of tough to drop. You can see when you open the product up, there's a keyboard. The display actually goes all the way back, so you can use the pen, and you can use it in one of 4 different orientations. But actually, it's also a totally engaging product. It's super to sort of show this to customers, to show this to kids, because they have a real problem just sitting there looking at it. They actually, it's one of those products that demands that you get hold of it, you play with it, you touch it. The other example the other example is the 20th anniversary Macintosh. It's a product name that just rolls off the tongue. Very, very different product from eMate, but it came from exactly the same design sort of process, same design motivation and philosophy. Starting point for this was trying to address issues of use that related to desktop computing. So the real obvious one is the footprint on this thing is tiny. It's a highly integrated sort of unit at the top here with a display, the CPU, all of the drives, sound system built into it. Part of the footprint story as well is the keyboard. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but the keyboard actually slides right underneath the main unit to give you that bit of desktop space back, which we know is precious desktop space right in front of your computer. The trackpad that's built into the palm rest is also removable. So you can actually, there's a little piece that fills in there. So you can actually use the trackpad to either side of the keyboard, or you can use a mouse if you want to. And then the other challenge with this product really was just to try and design an engaging product, a product that people would enthusiastically want to integrate into their personal computing environment. So we've used a range of different materials from fabric, metal. The palm rest on the keyboard is actually made from leather, so it actually gets nicer as it wears over time. But I think, like the eMate, I think that this product really defines a whole new product category. It hasn't got all of the answers, but I think it's an important design as we move forward.
Thank you, Jonathan. Before you leave, since the other demos were all really focused on products that are shipping or will be shipping this year, what I thought we'd do with the design segment is ask you to actually take us a little further, bring us to something that isn't on the roadmap right now. There's no promise of shipping, but shows us the kinds of things you're working on and studying in your labs.
Yeah, as Phil mentioned, this is something that we're just looking at the moment, one of the many things that we're sort of developing in the design studio at the moment. This is a new modular display, and I just sort of feel your disappointment looking at this thing. One of the issues relating to CRT technology, one of the challenges is that the technology is big and heavy, which means that it takes up a lot of space on your desktop and it's difficult to move around. One of the things, if you just take a moment to think about your own personal working or computer environment, think about the way that you've configured your desk, think about the furniture that you use, think about the way that you work, and I would contend that the issues relating to CRT's sort of size and weight have actually dictated a lot of your use. How would it be different if you had a product like this? So this is obviously it's a modular flat panel display. It has the equivalent of a 17-inch CRT sort of active area for viewing. One of the obvious things in it, it's sort of light. It's easy to move around. The actual base, the stand for this thing, actually houses a cunningly designed spring-loaded mechanism, which means that the effective weight of the display is less than 1 pound. So you can actually adjust the height of the product and the angle of the product with one finger. You can also plug into the display, into the base, your keyboard, speakers, and so on. But one of the other things that we designed was a different stand, a different base to the product. So you can take the same display and clip it onto this. There we go. This desktop arm. Now this arm. This arm attaches to the side of your desk or table and really provides the ultimate in sort of zero footprint display technology, the ultimate in terms of flexibility. And I think if you went back to thinking about your original sort of setup, I sensed that this may actually sort of fairly fundamentally sort of liberate the ways that we could work potentially in the future. Thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Thanks, Phil.
For those who covered a 20th anniversary Macintosh, I want to remind you that if you go to the labs and go through them, that you can sign up, and there'll be awarding or supplying 2 of the 20th anniversary Macintosh to developers who go through that. I wish friends and families of Apple employees were eligible, because you'd see me in those labs. But nevertheless, time marches on. So let's go, before we leave now and and round up with a few of the roadmaps, some of the details of what you'd like to see, calling out the information we just talked about. So we talked about PowerPC, that today's PowerPC processors, the 603 and 604, actually beat existing Pentium processors. Even the Pentium 2, as Macworld and Mac User have recently reported up on their website, are still beating, on the existing products, are still beating Pentium 2, but there's some exciting stuff coming this year with the third generation or G3 processors. There are two product lines within the G3 processors. There's Arthur and Mark V. First of all, Arthur is not just an extension of the 603. In fact, to be frank, that'll be one of our biggest marketing challenges in the next year. Arthur is a new processor family that delivers tremendous performance and incredible flexibility. We can put it into very affordable desktop systems. We can put it into notebooks. We can put it into high-end uniprocessor systems. And with different speeds and different cache configurations, we can deliver at varying levels of price performance. So it is not just an extension of the 603. It's a wonderful new product. It actually comes out at speeds slower than the 603 in terms of megahertz, but delivers far greater performance. So that will be our great marketing challenge with this product. But customers will quickly see, and the performance tests and the results the magazines show will be just outstanding. And it will keep easily ahead of Pentium 2. Then at the high end, Mach 5 will extend the highest use of the 604 family into particularly multiprocessor designs as well as floating point applications. For those of you with high-end scientific and floating point solutions, Mach 5 will be a great product for that. And in addition, we are going to, with Mach 5, move more of our high-end systems and our workgroup servers to full multiprocessor configurations more consistently across the product line and take advantage of the Mach 5. In terms of the Power Mac family, I said we've pulled together all of the products under the Power Mac brand. No more Performer, Centris, Power Mac, Confusion. There's one line, it's Power Macintosh. Now, as you see, there's a lot of markets that this very, very large business fits into, and the challenge is to make these products understandable. We will continue to have different enclosure configurations. There will always be a desktop model. We've looked at that and studied it, and customers continually want us to deliver a desktop enclosure. We will always have a mini tower enclosure. That's one of the most popular models. We will always have an all-in-one enclosure, at least for the foreseeable future on our roadmap. All-in-one is extremely popular with education and also internationally in Europe and Japan with consumers. And the highest end configurations really demand the tower products. So for the next year anyway, before we come back again into this conference, we will stick to those kinds of enclosures, but we're going to make the product line simpler with less confusion. Now what those arrows represent are not that at the end of the year there'll be just two models, but rather that these differing products, which today are based on a number of different architectures, will merge together to be based on two major architectures in our product line. And with those architectures, we'll have standardized logic boards that have something we'll call personality cards that create the flexibility and variety of systems for different customer needs across these different enclosures and different markets. What that means to all of us is greater reliability, higher quality, increased availability, and lower cost. So together with these products, we'll deliver the kind of performance and benefits the customer wants, but make Apple a much more reliable supplier of quality Power Mac hardware. Across the top there, you see a number of the features coming in over the next year, the things that we talked about: 100 base T, breaking through 300 megahertz, deploying FireWire and USB and DVD. So these things are all coming in the next year to the Power Mac product line. I said some product lines are actually have made great strides in being very understandable for our customers and being very clear in what the products are and what they offer. I think the PowerBook line has done that quite well of recent time. The 1400 products have really brought good performing PowerBooks at a mainstream price point. The new 2400 created, once again, a ultralight line for us that gives the kind of features and benefits customers want. And then the flagship product, the 3400, has really brought performance and quality back to the PowerBook brand. We'll continue on with those families of products. We will push display quality. We will push I/O performance with card bus and IRDA. And we'll take advantage of these new G3 processors. I mentioned Arthur is a processor that fits very well into a low-power, small configuration, yet still outperform Pentium 2. So there's a tremendous advantage for those of you who count on and rely on mobile solutions, not only for yourselves, but for the businesses you develop for, that will have an environment with portable computing that is easier to use thanks to things like the Location Manager and ARA, and more powerful than anything that the Wintel camp can provide. Now, servers is a very, very important product line to discuss. We have actually two businesses in servers. We have the workgroup server business and the enterprise server business. Workgroup servers are really based on a model of taking the highest end desktop products and then building server configurations for customers out of those. We take the 7300, the 9600 today, and build the 7350 and the 9650 as servers. And what those do is they increase the configurations, more memory, more cards for added functionality, and we configure software like Apple Share and Future Share and the Apple Internet Studio Kit, and configure very large drive arrays and create DAT configurations so the customers have a single, easy-to-use, one-stop shop, plug-and-play server configuration to get started. We're going to continue on that roadmap. It's quite successful and growing over time, particularly now as we move eventually to Mach 5 and multiprocessing in the workgroup server space. So there's a great deal happening here over the next year. In addition, two of our policies in the workgroup space will make them much more successful products. One is, in the past, we've actually brought out workgroup servers sometime later than the desktop products come out, sometimes 3 months, even up to 6 months later. And that has certainly not helped their adoption. Now, going forward, we are going to bring out workgroup servers inside the same quarter and sometimes actually simultaneous with the desktop products. In addition, because servers have a lower volume rate than the desktops, as is always the case, we'll actually be able to push faster processes first into the server space because you can get them in smaller quantities and thus they'll match well with the servers. So you see servers available when desktops are available in the workgroup space, and you'll see us sometimes put our fastest processors first into the server space with the workgroup servers. So we just have a great path there. The enterprise servers, in the past, as many of you know, we've developed in the last year our enterprise servers around some very unique products. Some PowerPC boards designed to run AIX, and put those in an actually highly acclaimed enclosure called Shiner, very large for Macintosh standards, server enclosure. Going forward, we are continuing to support AIX. We've come out with an update for customers called 4.1.5, for those of you in the AIX business, to show that support is still there. But we will not develop any new products based on AIX. We are now going forward in developing Rhapsody products. We will deliver Rhapsody servers. And I think what we'll see in the next year to 2 years is an enterprise server business that finally will have some great growth potential because for the first time, an enterprise server business will be based on the mainstream operating system the rest of the company is working on. Frankly, it's been very challenging for the enterprise division to work on. First, there was AUX and then AIX because they simply weren't the main business the majority of people at Apple were working on. Well, now with Rhapsody, we're going to have something that is not only what everyone's working on, but something that no one else in the computer industry has. We will have a Unix strength server platform that supports symmetric multiprocessing and memory protection and multitasking and threading and all the things you need for a robust modern server operating system, but with an interface and configurability as easy to use as the Mac OS is today. And that's something that simply no other server provider has. So that's the direction of the enterprise business, is to move as fast as we can to Rhapsody as our server strategy. And then in imaging, again, the product lines here have been quite clear for some time. We have 3 main lines that our customers are pretty happy with. We have the LaserWriter business, which will continue to move forward, adopting networking standards like TCP/IP, and starting to move towards the PowerPC processor because of the price performance benefits we're getting there, and the move in PowerPC towards embedded systems opens up some great opportunities for us. The inkjet business, which is a great high volume printer business and important to our consumer and education customers, will move to a higher quality photo imaging in our inkjet printer line with the style writers. And then image capture, or the quick take camera, will continue to be a very unique device going forward for bringing in imagery to QuickTime, and actually also work with software to make it easier to post high-quality images straight up to the web. Now, there are other roadmaps I don't have time to cover today, given that time's running short. We do have roadmaps on our cross-platform initiatives with PC compatibility cards, with the display line, which is a very important business for Apple, and there are sessions that cover much of that throughout the next 2 days. So in summary, you've seen us talk a little bit about our focus on the Macintosh and on Macintosh customers, on pulling together all our resources at Apple and putting momentum behind performance and multimedia and communications and design. You've seen a little bit of the kind of performance mainstream Mac customers will get before the year is done, performance that will benefit all of your applications. You've seen a little bit about where multimedia is going with the tremendous new capabilities brought to us in the future of multimedia for all of you who create QuickTime and QuickDraw 3D applications. And now you've seen a little bit of the roadmaps and what we're offering in the next year. So I hope you agree that over the next year we have a very compelling Macintosh business, and that Apple customers will see that the products are there that will keep them encouraged to stay with us, stick with the Power Mac and the PowerBook and the Laser Writer, and continue to be very strong mainstream business for Apple in the hardware business. So with that, I'd like to bring John back up to end the session. John?
Thanks, Bill. So over the next 2 days, we have lots of hardware track sessions. I ask you to join as many of those as you can. We'll have more demos, more content, more details. We'll have more engineers instead of marketing types and execs. All right? And also, don't forget the feedback forums. They're real important. I get lots of feedback from everyone, but this is a good focus place for us to get the feedback. And I'll be looking for you there, because I'll be there too. I'd like to thank Phil for the movie and all of you for coming.